Yeah, thank you very much for coming here tonight. I'm very excited for this event. I'm Alexander Gil, so I'm the founder of 2Doors, and I've been blessed to interview some of these great leaders that you're going to have a chance to hear from tonight on the 2Doors podcast. And I've been doing this for about 10 years in recruitment. And yeah, just see that there's a gap right now with AI coming and everything like that, that we need to facilitate more of these types of conversations. So I hope you get a lot of value from this evening. I just want to first thank Aaron and the AWS crew for hosting us. So if you can all put your hands together to thank Aaron and the AWS for it. So this will be a recorded podcast as well, so you're welcome to go back and listen to some of the information. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 2Doors podcast. I am here with this fantastic fireside chat at AWS today. Who I have next to me is Ryan Bigg. Ryan is a lead front-end developer at Fat Zebra, an Australian fintech and a true pillar of the software engineering community. He's authored several books like Maintainable Rails, The Joy of Elixir, and GraphQL for Rails developers, and has been writing and contributing to open source for over 14 years. Ryan's passionate about mentoring and developer growth. He helped build Culture Amp's junior engineering program, taught at Coder Academy, serves as treasurer for Ruby Australia, and continues to shape code bases across Australia. One of the most respected engineers in the country and someone I'm proud to call a friend. So please help me welcome in Ryan Bigg. Next up, we have Suesi Tran. Suesi is a Google expert in Dart and Flutter, a GDG Melbourne organizer, and a Woman Tech Makers ambassador. With 17 years of experience in mobile development and a Flutter pioneer since 2017, she's a leader who builds with purpose. Most recently, Suesi founded Natus, a platform designed to preserve memories and help people tell their stories in their own voice. Her work blends technical expertise with human connection, so please help welcome in the inspiring Suesi Tran. Next up, we have Aaron Sempf. Aaron is the next-gen lead for AWS partners across organizations across Asia Pacific and Japan, essentially a CTO of the future, driving innovation across cloud, hybrid, and IoT systems. With over 20 years in tech, Aaron brings deep experience in distributed and embedded systems. As a neurodivergent professional with ASD and ADHD, he sees his unique wiring as a superpower, harnessing hyper-focused creativity and adaptability to solve complex problems. Please help me welcome Aaron Sempf. And we finally have Rahul Ballal. So Rahul is an engineering lead at Pepperstone. Born in central India, educated in the US, and now thriving in Australia. Rahul's career spans global tech giants like Intel and 3M, plus fast-paced scale-ups like Seek and Pursuit. Rahul is an engineer's engineer, passionate about building high-performing teams and using tech to solve real business problems. Outside of work, you can find him exploring new places, staying active, or cooking something incredible. So please help me welcome Rahul. So I don't know if any of you have got imposter syndrome or anything, but this panel is, blows me away. And I want to throw first question out to Ryan. Is what is the importance that junior engineers play?
The importance that junior engineers play is they can contribute back to the business from their very first day. And my favorite example of this is somebody who I used to work with at Culture Amp, a woman called Ramya. I was taking her through an architecture diagram on the wall, and she said, "What's this here for?" And I said, "That box on the diagram, you mean?" And she said, "Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me." And I was like, "Hang on a moment, you're right. Doesn't make sense." We ended up re-architecting the whole system based around her question. So from her very first day, she just pointed and said, what's the meaning of this? And we're like, "We don't know. We'll work around it."
I love that. Thank you. Suesi, your story is very compelling. People can listen on your episode of the podcast as well. But for anyone going through a tough time, what would you like to share with them?
Yeah, having tough time in career is really something hard to get over. But what I always believe is that if you choose your career with the thing that you love rather than the thing that you think other people want you to do, then that somehow will give you motivation to overcome everything.
Thank you. Aaron, what's one communication habit that helped you most early in your career?
That's a good question. I want to answer that one first.
You go for it, please.
If you don't, if you do what you enjoy, you don't work a day of your life. So I'm lucky enough to be one of those that does my hobby. I just get paid for it. Communication. So you may tell, the more you listen to me, that my brain is all over the place. It can be very difficult to have a straight conversation. So one technique that I learned early on was to slow my pace internally. So like wanting to answer the first question, it's actually a technique to stall so that I can think about my answer and get it in a very concise way. You might see some professionals on stage grab a glass of water, take a sip. That's actually a technique to collect their thoughts. So I did that on purpose to demonstrate slow your pace, slow yourself down, collect your thoughts. The faster you talk, especially me, the faster I talk, my colleagues at the back can attest to this, the more sporadic, the more information all over the place is, and then it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So slow your thoughts, collect your thoughts, take your time. It doesn't matter it doesn't matter how fast it comes out, as long as you achieve the point of what you're trying to say. And so breathe, slow down, continue.
Thank you. And Rahul, what character traits do juniors need to thrive in their career?
We were just talking about this by the kitchen. I think one of the character traits I would suggest is being curious and being hungry. Our landscape is forever changing, and we were talking about T-shaped and pie-shaped and everything. The way I look at it is like if you're playing a video game where you gain capabilities, that's how I look at it. So maybe you come across a problem which requires like high performance, then pick up that capability and just carry up. So you won't be able to do that if you are not curious and you don't have a good way figured out how to learn things. You might have to unlearn a few things and relearn in your in your career. So I would highly recommend being extremely curious.
I think that's for everything. Like, always be curious, never know. Like, I found if I think I know everything, like I do a lot in my sport jiu-jitsu, that you think you know everything and a black belt comes in, it just wipes you out. You're like, yeah, that was very humbling. So, and I think that's right for your career. And do you have any examples of where you've had to build resilience? Because I'm sure there's something happened to you on a New Year's Day one day, and it might have been in America.
Yeah, it's an interesting story for people who hear it, but it was not for me. It was first of January, and I was working at a big bank in the US, right? And if you're familiar, New Year's parties and things like that, bad things happen to credit cards and bank account. People made bad decision, then they call the bank like that was not me or something like that. Sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not true. So there are systems that, as you may know, save the users from getting scammed or whatnot. And I didn't realize that was probably one of the worst times to be on call. And I also had a little bit of a party on the 31st, but I was second in rank. So there is like first line of defense, then there is a second line of defense. The first line of defense did not respond. So I got a phone call. This is like 8 a.m. in the morning, and I had hit the bed at 7:30 in the morning. So I opened the code, and the phone is on speakerphone. This is before Teams, Zoom, that kind of stuff. So the phone is on speakerphone. We used to have this thing called War Room where everyone's like talking over you and things like that. And in semi-awake with a single eye, because if you're like trying to look at the screen, you're barely awake. I had to power through that session, make sensible communication, and figure out the code that was problematic. And that gave me so much learning, because that event kind of changed how I think about software and how I write code. So I usually tell people there's the right code that you can easily fix at 3 a.m. at night with one eye. So that was it.
And going out to the whole panel, I'd love to get your perspective on what is something you wish you knew in your first year of tech?
I think first year of tech, I was completely lost because coming from a computer engineering background, which is like circuit boards and coding in C so that lights blink on certain segment panels. And so I think I wish I knew more of the web at that point because web was just coming up and but more like battle stories like this because I would have pursued harder if I knew that this is what it takes to be a successful software engineer. And I was the first in my family to enter this field. So that was another thing like completely blindsided.
The web didn't exist when I started. But I wish I had have been comfortable enough to fail. Like when you start, first job out and, soldering iron in hand and same deal, right? You're trying to think, all right, well, this is my plan. I got to work to this, I got to build this right. If I don't solder this right, or if I singe my fingers and I burn components, the company's out of a whole lot of money and it's on me and I'm going to lose my job. And none of that really exists. Like fail, learn what you did to fail because that's the best stepping stone to learning how not to fail the next time. So I wish I didn't have that fear of failure. Now I have no fear of failure. I will make the biggest failures. And as long as I've got the right team behind me to back me up and we learn, hey, well, this is how not to do it next time, we always learn. We're always moving forward. And I'm sure everyone knows the term fail fast, right? Like that's where it comes from. Like fail, learn, pivot, move on.
Okay. For me, my first year of tech is the worst time of my life when I failed my university exam in Vietnam and then get kicked out of the country. And at that time, because of that failure, I was really scared to communicate to people, share people what my problem and what I need help. I did not know that actually I can ask for help. So during that time, every time that I get stuck in a foreign country with a language that is totally broken, so most of the time, I just keep everything to myself and look for answers from the books or from, at that time, very, very early internal website, not to say website, but internal channel that I can share my questions anonymously and nobody knows that is me and I am the one who need help. So during that time, it took me around 2 to 3 years to actually be brave enough to ask people for help, for whether it's tech or lifestyle or anything. So I really wish that time I was brave enough to just ask for help.
That's fantastic.
I couldn't come up with one, so I actually got two, sorry. Your relentless
Overachiever next to me.
Your relentless perfectionism will only get you so far, is the first one. You can try as hard as you want to try and have all the answers. You're not going to have them. They just don't come to you at all. You can go for hours and hours and hours pushing for a problem to try and solve it by yourself. Don't do that. And go and ask for help immediately, almost within the first hour of trying to solve problems. So many times I've been unblocked, not just by asking, but by going to ask and having to formulate my question to whoever I'm asking, going, oh, of course, that makes so much sense. Rubber ducky, yeah. I've actually got a rubber duck on my monitor now, and I say, Bob, hey. And sometimes the answer truly does come. So the relentless perfectionism will only get you so far. And the other thing is that it doesn't matter as much as you think it matters. Nobody is going to die if you write a bad bug or deploy a bad feature, unless you're working on a certain X-ray machine in the 1980s. Go and look it up. It happened. Or work for defense. Yeah. So sometimes, yes.
Deadlines are deadlines.
Sometimes I think they should be. But no, nothing matters as much as you think it matters. So remain calm, and if you feel yourself amping up, go for a walk.
That's brilliant. And can you see common themes that are coming through there? Just don't be scared to fail, ask for help, curious, resilience, that all shines through. So thank you. And what are the soft skills that juniors should double down on?
I've got his relentless perfectionism as a saying. This, I think we say this often, is perfection is the enemy of progress.
Yes. It truly, and now you've got the mic, so you can tell us about soft skills.
So what was the question?
The question was, what are the soft skills that juniors should double down on?
That's a tough one. Because especially as engineers, like the first thing that you do when you get into your job is you start working task driven, right? So it's about, hey, you've been assigned this unit of work, go and do it. And you don't think beyond that unit of work. But I think it's specifically what the panel has already been saying is talk to people. Like communication, not just with your immediate team, might be your manager, your lead, or the developers around you. Get up, go and talk to the testers, go and talk to the implementers, go and talk to everyone else in the organization, because as your career grows, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And if you don't have those conversations with the rest of the organization and they don't know you, then, hey, when a role comes up somewhere else in the organization and you go, I'd be perfect for that, and nobody knows who you are, then it's going to be a lot harder to get that role. But just in what the panel was saying around, formulating your question sometimes helps, or having that conversation with other people like we were having before we came in might stimulate, from, hey, what do you mean by a T person? What do you mean by a pi person? Oh, wait, we're actually thinking the same thing. We've now set a level where we can build on top of that conversation. So the best soft skill is just the communication is most important.
What do you mean by a T-shaped and pi-shaped?
So a T-shaped person is somebody who has a primary skill. If you're a software engineer, then software engineering is your primary skill. However, you will often have other skills that relate to that field. So you'll have
T-shaped skills.
Yeah, T-shaped skills. This is what I'm saying.
A T-shaped person is going to be weird.
Okay, well, T-shaped person in terms of your skill development. I'm a person. I have a pie-shaped skill set. So the T. So in the T. So the your primary skill is the one that goes up and down, right? The vertical. The horizontal across is the related fields. So you have a very high understanding of fields that relate. So web developers who may be more oriented to the back end will have a higher understanding of the front end. Front end will have a higher understanding of the back end, but their primary is either back end or front end. A pie-shaped person, this thing keeps ticking. A pie-shaped person is somebody who has, say, a primary skill and a secondary skill to a much deeper depth than the crossover, right? So for somebody who's a back-end engineer, my primary skill set may be in service-oriented architecture, but my secondary skill set may be in radio communication or in integration or some field based on my experience that would be relative but still requires the depth more than having just a high-level understanding of what, say, the UI designers are doing to create an interface for what I'm building and the like. That's T and pi.
Indeed, yeah. I was waiting to see for Rahul. Suesi wanted to ask a question. Soft skills we're talking about. Yeah. Again, just being able to go back to somebody and say, hey, I don't understand this thing. So many companies I've worked for just don't write good cards when you're getting work assigned to you. It's like, make the button do the thing. I'm like, what the? And if you just go to the person who wrote the card, there's so much drama that can be saved just by saying, hey, I simply just don't get it. Can you just dot point the 7 steps that are between the start of the sentence, the end of the sentence? Because I'm just having a really slow mental day and just need you to, if you go to the appeal of emotion, they just, oh yeah, no worries, here you go. And they might document 14 steps. It's easy. I just do dot to dot now. Bang, 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 done. Easy. And that's trying how I've been trying to approach task-driven development and soft skills. And use, again, I keep circling back to the idea of it doesn't matter as much as you think it does. You don't need to get worked up. The relationships matter in this industry. It's such a tiny industry. Maintain your connections. Be nice to people. We're all people trying to just do the right thing most of the time.
I also think that communication is the key to success. And actually, as a developer recently with the wave of AI, that communication does not just from person to person. It's even harder when you try to write a prompt, because write a prompt to AI is also a way of communication, and you need to describe how you want the AI to react to you. So I actually use AI in a different way. How a developer is using is that I try to make AI understand me before I step into an important meeting, so that I make sure that whatever I explain in that meeting is easy to understand, because the AI can understand me that way. So I did not know about this at first. Actually, I spent my 8 years actually of my career in a closet, and I just receive whatever people tell me to do, and I make a lot of mistakes because of that. I receive help to get out of my closet and get into talking with people and sharing with people. So if really that you think the tech is only coding and an engineer with Uri and in a closet, that is totally wrong right now.
Yeah, I think for soft skill, I would suggest finding your way to digest information and being able to express yourself. And when I say express yourself, it could be explaining someone how you plan to attack a problem. I say, I'm going to do this, this, this. It just makes communication a bit easier. Sometimes you're working on something bigger, you can't really write it down. This happens to me quite a bit. So I call it there's no name for it, but boxes and arrows diagram. So this is going to call this. And so there's a visual way of representing the same thing, and find different ways of communicating beyond just struggling to find words and things like that, because you'll be working with different kinds of people, some technical, some not technical. Even if they are technical, they could be front-end folks versus back-end folks. So you find ways to communicate. It could be visual, it could be text-based. So always when I'm hiring people, I like to ask them to write a README to just see if they can express how this thing should work or get started. So weird one, but practice writing.
Just want to add to that, because that one I 100% agree with. And so verbal communication is only 25% of what you portray. So non-verbal communication is 75%. However, if you're neurodivergent, that flips everything upside down, right? So I don't get sarcasm. I don't get certain social cues. So it doesn't matter what kind of emotive you have in your communication, I won't get it 90% of the time, unless I'm looking at you. So that's the non-verbal, right? I can tell if you're being sarcastic if I'm most of the time, unless you're certain colleagues who know that I can't and do it on purpose. But I can most of the time tell from non-verbal communication, right? So you have behavior. But so that's one, right? Be very use your non-verbal communication for communicating in groups. But I like going further. The difference between audio-visual and kinesthetic, right? So drawing stuff, writing stuff down. Whiteboarding is one of the most important skills as an engineer that you can do, right? Communicating to a group. If you can talk and draw and have people interact, so have them come up and draw, you're using all three forms of communication to help convey your message. And then on top of that, you learn 75% of what you teach. So if you are drawing and explaining and getting everyone to work together in the whiteboarding session, you are going to remember it as well, because you were teaching and others may have been teaching a form as well, more than if you were to just sit and talk.
Can I add just one thing?
There are about 50 people in this room. If I ask each of you to draw a spaceship, you're all going to draw the wrong spaceship.
Yep. Requirement solicitation. I love this exercise. If one of the first things that I do to a lot of my new starts is I say, go and draw me a chair. And more often than not, they'll go and draw a chair. And then they bring it to you and I'm like, it's wrong. How do you know it's wrong? Yeah, I said, well, it was supposed to be a chair for a dwarf. How is the dwarf going to sit in this? It's too tall. Or if it was tall, it was supposed to be a chair for a king. It needs to be, very lavish. So, but how am I supposed to know that? Well, you didn't ask questions. Requirement solicitation. Just because somebody gives you a task and says, hey, go and draw a chair, the first thing you should do is, what kind of chair? Is it a 3-legged chair? Is it a 4-legged chair? What's the environmental constraints? Just pump out as many questions as you can to get as much detail, and then you're more likely to be able to go and achieve the task because, exactly, I'm sure that was the point you were trying to make.
And that's a key right there. I mean, a practical tool for all of you is to clarify. So say that you're going for an interview and someone says, hey, can you explain your knowledge of cloud? It's like saying, this is the term that I coach people. It's like, when you say cloud, what do you mean?
Precipitation.
That's a lot sexier word. But can you see this is what everyone's saying here? And just don't be scared to reach out and talk to people. Like there's a great man in the audience here who actually reached out to me and said, can I catch up? Can I pick your brain? Like you should be doing that in the community because these people have all failed and you can learn a lot quicker off of them and not have to go through the failure that they did. But you're going to have to fail at some point, but it's just picking yourself up, having good communication, knowing yourself, getting through. And so, yeah, switching gears, talking about interviewing. So when you interview juniors, what makes someone stand out immediately?
I'll give it a shot. I've been hiring in a completely foreign environment recently in Vietnam. So my recent experiences is, again, like they're making or asking questions to clarify the problem. Besides communication, I think one skill that, because a lot of interviews nowadays are over Teams or video, so don't have these quiet moments. You might want to practice talking while coding. So that's one thing.
Okay. This question is actually related to one of the activity I did recently. So I have a few students to prepare for their first job interview, and one of the students, he really took my advice when I told him that during the interview, understand the question before you think of an answer first. And he understand it in a way that he keep asking questions until at that time I was acting as interviewer, and he asked question until I don't remember what was my question. So even though it was very good practice and it really screwed me over that time, but it really a good way that he really show his learning and he showed that he asked the related questions related to the question. The wrong was mine, not his. What I think that really make him stand out is that he really took the advice and then he did the research on the company and did the research on the interviewer at that time, me. And he really asked the question that is needed for his answer. And his answer in the end really solved the problem I gave him at that time. So that was really a good one. And whenever someone asks me how to be standing out, I keep thinking of that experience.
That's brilliant. And I just wanted to add to that as well. A caveat is don't hardcore interview the interviewer as well. Be like, where are you from? What's your name? What's your dog's name? Like, it's a conversation, right? Okay, so,
And
but
not be creepy about it either.
Yes. What about yourself, Brian?
Yeah, anything you can do to make yourself stand out is super helpful for an interview. So, I mean, even before the interview phase, when you've got your resume in front of me, I want to see a color that's not black or white on that thing. Because if I've seen a resume today, I've probably seen a black and white one any day of the week. If you have blue, red, green, literally anything, add a bloody colored square to the top right, you stand out. Done. Great. During the interview itself, I want really good examples of you going past the tutorial stage on any tool that you've used. Any person can implement tic-tac-toe in React or something similar to that as well. I want to see you actually extending past that point. I want to see a game that you've implemented, even if it's a NAF game, even if it's just a ball that bounces up and down. It's your own code. You did something really cool about it. You have maybe you have a car that goes through a 3D landscape. I'm like, I had no idea CSS could do that, but you did it. Tell me how you did it. I want to learn your secrets. That makes it exciting for me. So as an interviewer, I want to be actually excited by the person I'm interviewing, because that gets your foot in the door, and that then opens up an opportunity for us to continue as a pair working together in the future.
And we had a conversation the other day, and you were sharing that, hey, I don't want to just see languages. What did you want to see?
Yeah, it's a blog post I actually wrote yesterday called Show Don't Tell. I don't care that you do HTML, CSS, JavaScript, React. I want to see what you do with that stuff. I want to see what applications you develop. Maybe it's a list of the books that you've read recently with like one way to order it, maybe by rating or by last read date or by the color of the cover. Like that's interesting to me, that you've gone to that length of thinking, okay, what are the certain ways I could present this data? Maybe the last couple of books you've read are crap. Maybe you can have like a chart showing, the decline in books or the increase in books as your taste improves. Anything that's differentiating you from the norm is what I'm after. So show me, don't tell me. The other point I made in the post there was that Alethea, that's a person who makes guitars, in case you didn't know. Alethea and I both know how to use a table saw. Drop it, you cut the wood. Only one of us knows how to make a guitar.
Brilliant. I want to ask another question to the whole panel, because some of you may have been distracted then, because Aaron was going to get our pizzas. So if you're wondering what happened, but we live in an era right now where there's a lot of information. Like, you are overwhelmed. You can be distracted up to the nines. Like, every app is like trying to keep you on the app platform. But I'd love to ask all of you guys, living in this area, like our attention is so poor. Like, how can we stay focused?
Pick one thing and focus on that. So the thing I've been recommending a lot to the juniors that have been mentoring, asking for my mentorship, is stay on the web. Go for that holy trinity of HTML and CSS, starting there and moving off into JavaScript, because JavaScript gives you a lot of the fundamental basics of programming without having to leave the browser. So start on those three things and nail down what they are doing and how they all interact together, and that will give you a really good basis for programming experience. And then from there, you can use that as a jumping off point. So try and stay focused on that. There are so many backend languages, like one per person in this room at least. You could go down that path, but stay in the browser is my big advice.
For me, the way that I stay focused is I'm a kind of visual person. So if I see it in front of my eyes, I will focus on it. So one of the way that I stay focused is to write it down on a piece of paper and stick it right on my work board. And I know that is the problem that I will need to work on right now, nothing else. But sometimes when the paper fly away, then there's another way is that right now in our team, we work with Agile and we have tickets that we move one ticket one step over. So that ticket is also one way for me to stay focused as well. But sometimes music also help. Or if you are into stories like me, I listen to audio stories. Sometimes it helps as well, but then it depends on the work that you are doing at that time. So the environment will need to be changed for me just to stay focused, whether it's music or stories or anything else.
That's brilliant. I use a website called brain.fm, and it sends you into you play the music and it can help stay focused. But what do you think, Aaron?
So did you mean stay focused within your career or stay focused on task? Because I felt like the first one was career-oriented and the other one was task-oriented.
Whatever your perception is.
Okay, so starting with task and moving towards career, I use about 5 different prioritization frameworks every day. And it depends on the type of task that I'm doing. I'm not going to go through them all here right now because pizza is coming. But if you would like to understand prioritization frameworks, Google my name and Google at Gil Bascar. We wrote an article together on prioritization frameworks, and I give you an example of the 5 different prioritization frameworks that I use any given day. But on top of all that, I do what we call cluster prioritization. So it's not writing a to-do list and going, I'm going to do this and this and this and this. Because if you do that, if you check off your boxes at the end of the day, you go, yeah, I've achieved something. But what was the value of what you achieved? So I measure everything according to the value of what I need to get done. So if I can, everyone's familiar with you can tell me the framework if you know it. Everyone's familiar with urgent, not urgent, important, not important. You learn this. That's a great start, right? The value that you get out of doing important and urgent tasks, it's going to be valuable because it's important, but it's reactive, right? If you can move towards doing important tasks that aren't so urgent, then you can take your time and add more value to them. So that's a taste of prioritization. Go and Google the rest. And I actually spell out the 5 different prioritization frameworks that I use every day if you're interested. In terms of staying focused for career, I would say back to what was said at the very beginning, do what you enjoy. If you're doing what you enjoy, that will keep you on the path that you need to be on. But don't be afraid that, hey, this path is leading somewhere that I haven't predestined. Yeah? Because life doesn't always go according to your plan. Who knew ChatGPT was going to come out and change the entire world 3 years ago, right? But if you roll with the punches or move with the flow of the water or whatever you want to call it, you move along the path that life gives you according to what you enjoy doing, as opposed to, yes, if you start going down a path that isn't right for you because you're not enjoying it, then yeah, refocus yourself. But as long as you're enjoying what you do, then don't be so hung up on the details in terms of what it is that you're doing. Just enjoy the journey.
I think my answer is going to be slightly boring. But definitely think about prioritization and things that others have said. But I think for me, focus in general is about 2 things. One is accepting what distracts you and eliminating what distracts you. So if it's your phone, don't keep it around. I think it just helps you in general, not just the phone, but just finding out maybe it's your Xbox that keeps blinking at you or something. It could be anything. It's like tempting you towards, just cross one more level. It should be okay. But, eliminating distractions. And then the reason why I say this, and you should be doing work that you enjoy. But in your work, there will be some parts that you don't enjoy. And for those things, you just need, just commit to it and then just do it. Because maybe, I would one day want to be a farmer, but I definitely don't want to clean the place where the cows stay, but I'm going to have to do it. So just put your mind to it, eliminate distraction, and just go for it.
Can I just add one? So is anyone else here neurodivergent and has been tested? And so has anyone here heard, because Rahul said, is actually a technique that we learn in learning to deal with our, I'm not going to call it a disability, our special superpowers. Has anyone heard of the beach ball, bouncing the beach ball? No? Okay, so that's exactly what was described, right? It's understanding where your focus is and letting it, like when you go to the beach and you push the beach ball down under the water, what's it going to do? It's going to come back to the surface, right? So that beach ball is your distraction and pushing it down is your distraction, but it's going to come back up. So understand and recognize what your distraction is, but just know that you'll right yourself and get back focused. So bounce the beach ball. Don't fight the beach ball. Just let it bounce and come back up.
And I hope we all get an invite to Rahul's farm. And
I'll clean your stalls. It's fine.
Here's a controversial question. So if you were starting over today, what would you focus on learning first?
I know this one so I've had a very varied career, and if I were to go back and do it all again, I probably wouldn't join the military, and by now I'd probably be a neuroscientist or a neurobiologist. Follow my brother's footsteps.
Oh, what would I do? That's a big loaded question you got there, mate. I probably wouldn't do network engineering to start with. Again, that was not too fun because you say there's this machine over here can't talk to that machine over there. There's 13 machines in the way. One of them is faulty somehow, and it's usually because some idiot unplugged a network cable along the way. And the idiot might have been yourself because you're reconfiguring something else. So probably, I think it'd start with programming still. And I think the big thing that really slowed me down at the start is not having enough of like a mentorship system and like a peer support group, I guess is the best way of putting it. Of like, I needed somebody who could, like, not a parental figure, but like a person who's like 2-3 years ahead and be like, hey, this thing is happening at work. You've done it before. What's your advice? And that would have been so helpful. Because so many times I just go home and rant to my friends and like, we don't understand programming at all. What do you mean? What's this Ruby thing you're talking about? JavaScript? Never heard of her. It's just, it led me down so many dead ends. And I think just having that like mentor who's just a couple of years advanced would be really helpful. I've found people like that now, and they are extraordinarily helpful for any sort of advice that I have. It's like, this person is doing this behavior, I've treated it this way, and then they've gone off and done this other thing. What should I do now? Please help. And they're like, yeah, that's easy. You do this and this and this, and I do that. Easy peasy. Problem solved. And at the same rate, having people on the same level going through the same struggles is a huge beneficial way of learning as well. That's why we have the classroom structure. You all have, like my daughter is in year 3. There's 26 of her peers experiencing basically the same lesson every day. They're all struggling to learn the same thing. They're all growing together. They're all playing together. I think having that early on in the career, I wouldn't even say 26, like 5 people, all at the same level, all going through the same struggle would have really accelerated that growth. It would have been like a cannon shot. Like, it would have been so fast and so easy.
For me, actually, if I get a chance to do over my career, I would not change anything at all. Even though I started with a big failure, but then that made me who I am today, and that also add value to what my life is right now. So if I have to go over, do everything again, I will endure all the hardship again, and I will try to be who I am today again, because I have no regret on anything.
I changed my answer.
Oh, yes.
I think if I had to start over again, I would love to learn that software is a team sport.
Yeah.
Not everyone is Linus Torvalds. He made Git on his own, apparently. But there are not too many of them. So it's a team sport. How to solve problems together is a skill I would say I'm still learning, because everyone has a solution, and the best solution usually is a combination of a few.
That's brilliant. And yeah, when you were saying that, Ryan, as well, there's a mantra which is plus minus equals. I don't know if you've heard of that before, but your plus is like a mentor, so someone who can teach you. Your minus is someone you're mentoring, you're teaching, because to Aaron's point, like when you teach, you solidify it. And your equals is your running buddy. It's like someone that you're here with. And that's why these events with your friends are so important, because you're all going through it together. So yeah, I just want to say thank you very much for this panel. I've had a brilliant time facilitating, so thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Brilliant. And pizza is here, so enjoy your pizza and get to know other people in the community. Go and say hello. It's I remember what it was like at networking events. You're like, oh, should I stay on my own over here? Go and say hello to someone and make a new friend. And we'll be back here in half an hour, 7:30 for the next panel. Cheers.